Thanks for joining me on News Desk. My name is Kimini Nyamani. I'm on the table this morning. Ghana-Ivory Coast maritime border issue is back on the radar. Today we understand both countries are meeting. We'll bring you up to speed exactly what the outcome of that meeting is in the course of the program. Also, authorities at the Acquah Teaching Hospital, you recall, over the weekend held a press conference reassuring that they will do all they can to identify the lost stillborn baby. Also, they have assured the nurses who have held back their services as far as new cases are concerned that they can now come back to work because security is okay. But we'll go back to the Acquah Teaching Hospital. Mohammed Nuruddin, who is our Ashanti regional correspondent, to bring us up to speed as to exactly what is happening. Did they listen to the authorities and are perhaps back to work? We'll also revisit the issue of teachers' salary arrears and those who have worked for 2 years without pay. The coalition will be here with us in the studio. We'll discuss this further. But most importantly are your thoughts and comments on any of the issues we are discussing this morning. You can do so by leaving it on our page on Facebook, Joynews on TV, or my personal handle on Facebook, Kimini Amano. I tweet at Kimini or at Joynews on TV. You can leave your comments with me as well. Let's get into our first issue of the day. The coalition of concerned teachers has vowed to resist a government fiat over some salary arrears due teachers. The teachers, according to government, will now be paid only 3 months of all outstanding salaries, even though some have been working close to 2 years without any salary. The coalition says any attempt by the Accountant General's Department to implement the order would lead to massive unrest. Let's take a look at that.
Where are the pundits? Where are the religious leaders? Where are the opinion leaders who always call on us to back down our demands anytime we register our protest? This is the time for you to call on government to stop this rancid policy. If no one stops the government and this policy comes into effect, CCT will dazzle the government. We will force policymakers to do the right thing.
Deputy Minister of Education in charge of Tertiary, Alex Chema, explained the directive on arrears is to check the rate at which some district and regional directors of education recruit teachers without going through the appropriate procedure.
There's window of opportunity for those genuine teachers who started a long time ago and are not paid. The window of opportunity is that you need to submit all the available documents to the Minister of Finance for clarification and you'll be paid. They have to sit down with the fair wages and we will provide the necessary input to the fair wages, and if they are able to come together, the fair wages and for that matter, the Minister of Finance and Controller will pay them.
The Omanhene of Kokofu, Berima Ofe Akwasi Akogyesuo II, also added his voice to criticism of the decision to scrap trainee teachers' allowances, describing the reasoning as hollow. He tasked government to take a second look at the decision and find other innovative ways of motivating teachers as they play a key role in the development of the nation.
The argument that our friends are putting up is that by removing the allowances, you'll be able to train more teachers. What a hollow argument. The motivation is not there. How do you train more teachers? Motivation is strong in developing teachers for our schools. So if you want to improve our education, maintain the allowances to teachers and send leave to teachers. Other than that, you're going to destroy education forever. But to you, to whom much is given.
The Coalition of Concerned Teachers Ghana, a breakaway from the Ghana National Association of Teachers and the National Association of Graduate Teachers, also inaugurated its Board of Trustees for its Teachers Fund.
President of the coalition, Ernest Opoku, is here with me in the studio. We'll deal with this matter over the next few minutes. Thank you very much, Ernest, for joining us.
Thank you.
Do we know why you were getting 3 months instead of 2 years?
Actually, we were not informed. We only got an information that Controller and Accountant General is using a software that doesn't pay arrears beyond 3 months. So we decided to fish and find out. Then we cited a letter dated 5th of November 2013, signed by the Honorable Minister of Finance, directing all MMDAs not to pay arrears beyond 3 months. But we know that in GES, our mode of recruitment is different from all public sector workers, because before GES management can recruit teachers, they seek clarification from Ministry of Finance, and when approval is given, they are given quota. So heads of schools are able to recruit teachers who will start working. Then they go through the process of IPPD before money is paid. I can tell you that in my school, for instance, 4 people were recruited. 2 of them, they were able to go through the process. They received all their money December last year. But the ones that delayed, government is saying, I won't pay. But the problem is that it's not the fault of the teachers. You cannot blame them. They have worked and they deserve their salary. If you look at promotions.
Wait, let's understand the delay. What caused the delay?
No, it's because when they are recruited, they ask you to start work.
I see.
Then you go through, the whole GES, there is too much bureaucracy. The bureaucratic process of processing teacher salary, because you need to fill your IPPD, it has to go through the district, then to region, before it gets to GES headquarters. So by the time your documents get to GES headquarters for your salary to be processed, it would have taken more than a year. And government is saying that I will not pay. Meanwhile, the people have worked.
But you do understand that at that point, whoever is supposed to pay you, whoever employs you directly, including government itself, does not see you as an employee, because they don't have any records of you.
No, they do.
How?
Before you are employed, you are given an appointment letter. Then you begin the work.
Who gives you the appointment letter?
The District Director of Education is mandated by law.
Which means that the GES employs you, gives you the appointment letter.
But because...
And then what is the process after that? You have the appointment letter.
Then you start the job.
You start the job.
Then they have to process your IPPD, because there's a need to fill forms. It has to go through the process from the district education office. There is a need for regional director to also add another letter. It goes through a whole lot of process before it goes to district finance.
Shouldn't that be part of the employment process, and not just for salary? Because you are employed first before your salary.
Exactly.
And so why do you get an appointment letter? You start working, and then you're now processing your IPPD. By the way, what is IPPD?
It's integrated pay policy kind of thing through Control and Accountant General.
I see. So you get employed before you start working on your salary?
You get employed before you start working on your salary.
Is that how it's supposed to be?
That is the process.
I see.
That is the process. And quite apart from these people, we have teachers who have also gone through promotion. When you are promoted, you are given your promotion letter. Then you have to also process your upgrading for you to be upgraded to the status with which you've been promoted to. And that will also take a lot of, time. And so by the time you go through your promotion, IPPD process, would have taken more than a year. Especially even teachers who go for further studies. If you finish University of Ghana, after university, you have to, you get your certificate, then you need to go through upgrading for them to upgrade you to principal superintendent. And this take months, sometimes years.
And we are blaming it on bureaucracy at the GES.
And then government is saying that I do not blame GES, because teachers alone form 1/3 of public sector workers. We are many. And so they need to also take steps to scrutinize the document as to whether the documents that we are presenting is genuine. So it takes time. But the problem is that government is saying that henceforth, even if you have worked for 2 years, I won't pay you. I will pay only 3 months. And we think that it's not the fault of the teachers. But you see, the unfortunate aspect of this is that the letter was not even directed to GES. They wrote the letter to Controller and Accountant General, directing Controller not to pay the arrears. And We didn't know. So our members started complaining that my money didn't come. They only paid me 3 months. Then we have to find out why. Even GES management didn't even know the reasons. So we met, all the unions met, Coalition of Concerned Teachers, NAT and NAGRAT. We met and we wrote a letter to the Minister of Finance and a copy to the Minister of Education and to Minister of Employment and Labor Relations, that what if it is true that policy directive is indeed coming from government, then we think that is unfair and that they should change their decision. Unfortunately, we have not received any letter of even acknowledgement, telling us that they have even received the letter.
When did you send the letter?
That was about a month ago.
I see.
And when they wrote the letter on the 4th of November, signed by the minister, January 2014, they started implementing the policy. And my sister, we have more than 3,000 teachers who have been recruited. They are working. They have been working for the past 2 years. And government is saying, I won't pay them. Is it fair for someone to work? You have given the person appointment letter to start work. The people are working. As I speak to you, they are working. But government is saying, I won't pay you. I will pay only 3 months. If we don't have money in this country, is that the right way to go? We are saying that we will not kowtow to that kind of thing. Quite apart from this, government is also owing us 24 months incremental credit arrears. And last year, November 20th, we met Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. On all that they could say is that government is saying they don't have money and that they are pleading with teachers to forfeit the incremental credit arrears.
Why do you think you're doing that?
We don't understand. Forfeit it. When is the turn of the politician, they take it. When is the turn of the teacher, they tell the person, forfeit it.
How does that make you feel?
No, you feel so sad. It looks as if as a country, we don't think about education. Because you cannot grow as a nation if you toil with education. And that teachers are the vessels within which development can move. Because if you want to develop, then there's a need to be educated. And the teacher needs to be motivated. If teachers are not motivated, how do you expect them to do proper teaching and learning?
You were also telling me earlier that the reason they want to pay only the 3 months instead of the 2 years is because they claim that sometimes when you're employed, it is backdated.
Yes, we decided
and so they suspect some corruption.
Yes, they think that some of the district directors, when they do recruitment, they backdate the recruitment date, so that when the money comes, they conspire with the bank managers and then they take the money. But if you have seen a problem, there is a need to solve the problem. And the best way to go is not to tell the teacher, I won't pay you.
How do you suggest the government deals with that?
Government should investigate. That is why we have institutions that are mandated to go into issues of this nature. IOCO is there. BNI is there. They can.
But as a group, you're not concerned about that?
We are concerned. We are concerned. We think that if it is true, then those people should be brought to book. And that the institutions that are mandated to go into issues of this nature can go, investigate, and bring those perpetrators to book. You cannot sacrifice teachers for somebody's, misappropriation of funds. And we think that teachers have worked. They deserve their salary. Government should come clear and pay them. And we've given government 2 weeks. If government doesn't pay, we will let the whole world know the kind of treatment that government is treating teachers. And we think that is not fair. Anytime we make noise, we let people know the problems that we are facing. People call on us to look at the children we are teaching. Please go back, and we listen to them. And we are using this medium to plead with religious leaders. Please tell government they should pay us. People have worked.
What difference would that make if the religious leaders speak on
we are saying that if after 2 weeks government doesn't come clear so far as this issue is concerned, and I'm saying that the letter was dated 5th of November 2013, signed by Minister of Finance, directing all MMDAs not to pay arrears beyond 3 months. And the unfortunate aspect of it is that, my sister, you see, when you go through the process of IPPD, before it gets to Accra for processing, the documents is sent to district finance officer, that is treasury, for them to authenticate the document. When it goes, then the district finance officer changed the date to 3 months. And that means that government is saying, whether you like it or not, you have worked, but I won't pay you.
So
that is cheating. To me, it's stealing.
Your members have received those 3 months.
Yes.
They have received the 3 months.
Yes.
In full.
Yes, they pay 3 months instead of some of them instead of 2 years, some of them 1 year, some of them 3 years. Government is owing some of them 3 years. And quite apart from this directive, government is also owing all teachers, GES employees, 24 months incremental credit arrears. That one to government is saying I won't pay.
I think you've made that clear. So what next after the 2 weeks?
Well, when the time comes, we'll know what to do. This time,
would you strike? Would you go on strike?
I think that strike is not the only way. If there's a need for us to demonstrate, we will. Even if we have to write letters to embassies, international institutions, to tell our story, we are ready to do that. That is why we want the whole world to know. So that when we start doing it, nobody will tell us, because in this country, anytime you say, hey, there's a politically motivated, you cannot say you won't pay me. If government is not paying me and my pocket is not good, I don't think I will sit down for a politician to come and tell me, do A, B, C before I do it. After all, I also have sense. I know. So we are saying that if after 2 weeks, government doesn't come out with, a statement on this issue and pay teachers their due, we will organize fora, we will organize press conferences, and then we will write letters to all diplomatic missions in this country and tell them what government is doing to teachers. We think that is not fair. And so we are even happy that media institution like you is also giving us the platform to let the whole world know what government is doing to teachers.
While you're doing that, you'll be teaching?
Yes.
I see. So this time the tool is not to strike.
Well, when the time comes, we have started. We've given 2 weeks. We are telling our story. What we are saying is that we won't let someone come and tell us.
So there's no clear plan after the 2 weeks?
There is.
What is it?
That is why I said we are going to organize fora, press conferences, demonstration will come if government doesn't, listen to us. And then probably, like I said, writing letters to tell our story. And then finally, if we strike, we don't want to straight away go on strike. Right. It will be as if all that you are interested in is always embarking on strike. And this time, we are also using this medium. I think the letter that we wrote, it was signed by all the unions, including non-teaching, because they are also affected, too. And so we want to fight together. We are calling on NAT and NAGRAT and TEU, so that together we can be very strong and fight for teachers in this country.
Ernest, thank you very much for passing through. Ernest Opoku is president of the Coalition of Concerned Teachers. They've given government a 2-week ultimatum to reverse its decision to pay them only 3 months of salaries arrears instead of the 2 years it owes some of the teachers. Now, tensions as a result of a standoff between Ghana and Ivory Coast over the discovery of crude oil on the maritime boundary between the two countries could potentially be heightened even further. That's according to Minister for Land and Natural Resources, Alhaji Inusa Hussein. He explained to Joynews in November 2013, the stakes have been raised a lot higher now that both countries have commenced commercial production in the area, but said government is not relenting in efforts to amicably resolve the dispute. Take a look at that.
The area, which stretches over the maritime boundary between the countries, is said to hold significant reserves of crude oil and equally substantial amounts of natural gas. It is adjacent, though not very close to the Jubilee field, where production has been ongoing for some years now. Ivory Coast, in its latest claim to the area, happened sometime after commercial production began on the Ghanaian side, leading to the establishment of a technical committee in the spirit of ECOWAS to resolve the matter.
The main issue is the delimitation of our sea or maritime boundary. And the maritime boundary, I mean the territorial waters, the continental shelf of Ghana. What has happened over the years has been that we as a country, working together with the Côte d'Ivoire, have been able to delimit our land boundaries. But we have not been able to delimit our maritime boundaries. Now, there are various principles that are applied in delimiting a maritime boundary. Ghana believes that the principle that should apply in this matter is the equidistance principle. But the Ivorians think otherwise. So that is why a joint committee is formed in the spirit of ECOWAS to be able to sit down to peacefully resolve this matter.
Lands and Natural Resources Minister Alhaji Inusa Fuseni is optimistic Ghana will win the case.
The joint teams will have to visit the land boundary between Ghana and Ivory Coast, which is known as Boundary Post 55, the BP 55, to establish the geographical coordinates of that boundary.
John Peter Amewu is Director, Policy and Research at the Africa Center for Energy Policies. Joined us over the telephone. Hello, John.
Hello.
Good morning and thanks for joining us on News Desk.
Yeah, good morning and good morning to your listeners.
Right. The issue is back on the table. What are your expectations of this meeting?
I persistently continue to say that the issues of maritime boundaries cannot be resolved, within a short period of time. The 1982 UNCLOS, which is United Nations Convention Law of the Sea, it provides that the limitations of the continental shelf between states shall be effected on the basis of international law in order to achieve equitable solution. Right as the minister said, the word equitable solution is difficult. And so,
the area we stretch
now, there are quite over 100 of such cases before the United Nations. It's less than 20% of those cases that have been resolved. And so I think Ghanaians need to move away from thinking that this problem is going to be resolved shortly. It will never be resolved. Notwithstanding the difficulties of resolving the issue, there are provisions that allow states to agree to even continue exploitations in disputed areas. And I think this is what we should be looking at. That even though disputes arise, which we all accept, there might be an opportunity for both states to continue to do exploitation in a matter that allows them to gain effective exploitations of the reservoir. And so, irrespective of the agreement, what can be done immediately is to form what we call the AEZ. It is important for Ghanaians and those who are championing this cause to realize that you don't need a delimitation boundary to constitute a AEZ, not at all. You need that to constitute what we call a transnational unitization. This case, as I understand, if the reservoir that is in question straddles between two boundaries that have been agreed on, then we can be thinking of trying to resolve this by delimitation. Now that both countries are not agreeing, we have to use that area as a neutral zone and constitute a common fiscal regime to go ahead with the exploitation. My fear is that if you refuse to do this, then it opens the door for both countries to undertake what we call the rule of capture, which will allow competitive drilling, and this will affect the reservoir, and it also poses environmental issues.
Is the rule of capture not already working?
Well, we can only establish that if the committee is able to come out that the reservoir under question straddles between the two boundaries. That if applies in Ghana and Ivory Coast. If it is the same reservoir, which is in question, yes, then competitive drilling can lead to rule of capture. And that is not the most adventurous, way of undertaking this activity. because both countries will eventually lose. And so we need to agree in forming what we call the joint development zone and subject that area to a common fiscal regime. Because the issue as it stands now cannot be resolved shortly. And if we allow it thinking, as the minister has rightly stated, that they wish it will be resolved, if we allow thinking that to be resolved, then the difficulties is that competitive drilling will emerge and both countries will lose their reservoir.
When we look at the companies drilling on both sides, what are Ghana's chances if we do not resolve this and we get to the point of the rule of capture?
Again, the difficulty is that if you look at the Ivorian side of the border, there are major players there like Total. They are more like integrated companies that have got experience. You know, they can drill faster. They have the competence, the capability, the core capability to undertake these activities. If you come to the Ghanaian side, we have the independent players like Talo, Cosmos, and Adako. They are not integrated. They haven't got experience like the major players. And so if you put two players together, you and I know best what will happen. The other party will be able to drill faster. Again, don't forget, the fiscal regime on the other side of the border, which is Ivory Coast, is more conducive to any international player. Our new exploration bill is even increasing the fiscal tax, okay? And so if you are an international player and you want to work in a regime that haven't got an attractive fiscal regime, you prefer to work in the other side. And so the non-attractiveness of our fiscal regime as it is now is also going to be a partial index to determine the level of drilling. We must be quite clear about it. And so my advice to government or whoever is responsible for this issue is to make sure that we go ahead as quickly as possible to constitute a JDZ. I'm maintaining that you don't need a delimitation boundary to constitute a JDZ. Not at all, as been made to understand. This zone can be, delimited as a neutral zone and a common fiscal regime agreed between the two countries to apply. Then we go in and do our drilling.
What would it take for us to form this joint drilling zone?
It's about agreement between the two countries. Instead of trying to agree on delimitation, we must go beyond delimitation to agree on a common zone.
It means that over time, when we've had discussions with Ivory Coast, we've been having the wrong discussion.
Well, I wouldn't be in a position to say whether it's a wrong discussion. If you hear the minister clearly, it says, and his estimation is that the issue will be resolved right down when the discussion begins. So the estimation is that the issue will be resolved shortly. But I'm telling you from analysis and from history point of perspective, boundary disputes had never been resolved within a short period of time. I talked about more than 100 cases currently before the United Nations, and less than 20% of those issues have been resolved. So there's no clear evidence to point that boundary issues are being resolved, shortly. You can do that temporarily or permanently by doing what we call the JDZ, and that can allow for drilling that will benefit both countries.
Thank you very much, John. John Peter Amewu is Director of Policy and Research at the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Some of you have been sharing your thoughts on both issues we've discussed in the first half of the program on our social media platforms, Facebook specifically, and I'll share some of them with you. I'll start with that of the teachers and. Manasseh Ofai Boyson says, please ask the finance minister. He said he'll pay only 3 months arrears for upgrading, reactivation and new appointments, among others. When we get in touch with the finance minister, we'll find out exactly what that is. Carl Kobe says, in addition to the current economic situation, it is hell. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll read these messages when I return. I really want to share them with you. So don't go away. I'm glad you could stay on News Desk. Let me just quickly get back to some of the comments you have been sharing with me on Facebook.com/Joynews on TV. So Emmanuel Asma says, we are okay, because even if they listen to our sad part of the story, I don't think they are going to help us. So let them do what they like. Chenebe Eric says, we're just joking as a nation, and we want people to die for this country when they are not given what is due them. Well, I think I'll end your message there. Richard Billy Hanyabui says, they virtually become beggars. Remember, a hungry and a demotivated teacher is a dangerous virus that can decay the brains of the present generation and generations yet unborn. So those are some of your comments on the teacher situation. The Coalition of Concerned Teachers are demanding that government reverse its decision to pay them only 3 months of his arrears it owes them. And these are your source on social media. Meanwhile, some of you on social media as well have been commenting on the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital and the fact that they still can't trace the remains of the baby who died days ago. Let's go there now and get an update. I will come back to Facebook and then read your comments. But first, let's talk to Nuruddin. Nuruddin is Joynews' Ashanti regional correspondent. He's joined us over the telephone. Hello, Nuruddin.
Hello, Camille.
Hello, Nuruddin.
Hello, Camille. I can hear you.
Right. Thank you very much for joining us on News Desk. What's happened since the weekend press conference?
Yeah, Camille, you remember yesterday the regional minister and then the CEO of Konfanochi had a press conference at the Regional Coordinating Council to brief media about what has been going on, and they said that they provided the hospital with enough security
Mohammed,
to protect.
What we'd love to know now is if the nurses are rendering services to new cases.
Well, my checks had also indicated, the doctors are saying they would consider the appeal of the minister and the management of the hospital to resume work. But as I'm speaking now, they haven't, it was a collective decision. So they are saying they would have to meet again and then decide what to do. But they're saying they'll surely go back to work. But sometime this week, they will meet to deliberate on that and then they will go back to work. But as I'm speaking now, my checks at the hospital that the doctors haven't resumed work yet.
As it stands now, they are not rendering their service to new cases. Is that it?
They are not admitting new patients.
You have been on the ground since the story broke. Looking at the security situation in the hospital, are they justified to withhold their services?
Well, they were saying without security they wouldn't be able to work at the hospital. But the regional minister assured them yesterday that they would provide them with security. And this morning when I went, there were police personnel placed at vantage points at the hospital to make sure they would protect the doctors and nurses and staff of the hospital. So security at the hospital now is very tight, and that is what the doctors and the nurses were requesting for. So we are hoping that since this has been done, they would resume work. But like I said, it was a collective decision by the doctors and the nurses. So they would have to meet again and then decide when to resume. Sometime this week, they will meet to decide when to resume.
Right, Mohammed, let's describe the presence of security as scarce right now.
Well, when you go to the main entrance at the emergency, the entrance of the emergency, there are police personnel there. At the Santima roundabout, there are police personnel there. And then even in the hospital, there are police personnel there. Some are placed at vantage points. So all the vantage points when you go to the hospital, you will see police personnel present. So for now, there are policemen. The security there is very tight.
From observation, what would you say about safety? Is it safe to go to CATH to seek healthcare service? Is it safe to go to Cath to work as a healthcare provider?
It is now, Kamini. I can say it is. It is not easy getting to some of the places. Today we tried to go to the labor ward, but it wasn't. We were not able to go there, and I think it was due to the security situation. So we wanted to find out what has been going there, but we couldn't go there. And right. I think it was the security. Security is very tight at the hospital.
What have you heard about the police's investigations into finding the baby?
Well, the nurses have been interrogated, and we are told the security and the liberal or the cleaner has also been interrogated. So we are waiting for what the police will say after.
In other words, there hasn't been any major breakthrough that you know of?
Not for now, no. We haven't gathered anything apart from the interrogation that is conducted.
Let's move away briefly from that. We understand that there was some demolition went on in Ashtown.
Yeah, Kamini.
Bring us up to speed with that.
Well, over 200 traders were affected, and yesterday they were not happy with the decision. They actually, some of them were thinking that it was from an authority from the KMA, but later on the KMA boss, Kojo Bonsu, came to tell them that he wasn't aware of anything and that the traders can continue to do their work there. So as I'm speaking now, this morning when I went there, traders have started raising their structures to begin business. So the issue now, the KMA is saying even if the one who claims to be the owner, claims the ownership of the land, has even gotten any authority from the court, at least the KMA authority should have been informed before this exercise was carried out. And, you know, after the time it was carried out, most of the traders left their properties, their wares there, and so most of them have to come in the morning and then gather their property. So they are now raising their structures to begin business. And we are also told that because the case is in the court, they have to be going back to the court until. So the one who claims to be the ownership of the land should have informed them, even if he wanted to embark on a demolition, he should have informed the traders so that they will know what to do before he even did that.
Right. Thank you very much, Mohammed. So Mohammed Nuruddin is our Ashanti regional correspondent. He's been speaking to us on the Confirmatory Teaching Hospital saga. You recall that over the weekend, the hospital authority, in collaboration with RECSEG, held a press conference reassuring the nurses' security in the hospital, asking them to return to work, and also reassured the general public that they'll do all they can to find the lost stale baby. Meanwhile, Aguado Abraham on Facebook says Ghana for you. And Ebenezer Kofi Boabin says Eye Asemo. Evans Boache says, what is wrong with the management? Osman Payo Shani says, so are we safe in the hospitals? For Sue Samuel, then they will continue to be beaten always, because these acts have been going on for long. That's from Fosu Samuel. I really don't get the message. Edem Ejaya says, on a very serious note, what are they implying? Did the angels of heaven come for the body just after the baby died? The police is trying to investigate that. Perhaps we'll find an answer to that when they are done. John Botosu says, maybe they sold the baby alive and not dead. We are not too sure yet. Yasin Arafat says, every one of them should be arrested. And Dahamani Abdul Karim says, well, I'm trying to connect to this and it isn't working. Anyway, Dahamani says, do laws still exist in Ghana at all? Everything is just nyama. Hassan Dida says, then they have no right to declare the baby as dead. What will you tell the parents? Those are your comments on social media. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Thank you very much for staying on. Let's get into our last issue on the program this morning. Ghanaian President John Mahama says, rather than predicting doom for the country, wise Ghanaian politicians should help him scale the current economic hurdles confronting the nation. President argued that such support is important because in a democratic country such as ours, the government is the people's government. According to him, a nation has to be united when facing any kind of political or economic challenges because the government of the day does everything necessary to lead our country and to attain the development goals it has announced. David Agbe is Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. He's joined me over the telephone and we'll talk briefly about this roping in Thursday's State of the Nation's address. President Mahama hopefully well, let's talk to David. Hello, David.
Yes, good morning, Kennedy.
Good morning to you. But the president is asking that wise Ghanaian politicians help him scale the current economic hurdles confronting the nation rather than predict doom for the country. What are your thoughts?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think that it's a good call that the president is asking that people should support him as to how we can all resolve these economic downturn. But I would have expected that the president outlined the way people need to actually help him. But to make it blunt that people should help him, in what way do we have to help him? Is he calling for a consultative meeting where people will be able to dialogue and discuss pertinent issues that are confronting the country? Or which way are we taking it, from? Is it that people are criticizing him, people are bashing him, and so he does not have any alternative rather than to come and say that people should help him, and that is the end of the story? We would have expected that the president will go along the line by articulating the way we need to actually help him, the way we can be able to resolve this kind of economic downturn and the strategies, thereafter. So that is our view. We want the president to come out and indicate, what way do we have to actually assist him? Is he calling for people to come from the academic field? Is he calling people to come from social, background? Is it asking people to come from, coming from social activist people coming on board so that we can be able to digest all the issues that are confronting this country? If he put it that way, fine. Everybody will salute his call. But as he has put it, I think that the president needs to come again strongly so that we can all assist him to come out of this economic situation.
Perhaps he may come strongly on Thursday when he gives us the State of the Nation address. What are your expectations?
My expectation as far as the State of the Nation's address are concerned is that President needs to make it very emphatic and strongly that we as a nation, all the think tank organizations, both from academic field and civil society, how can we help the labor front and all that? How can we help so that we can all, become, more like Ghanaians? Especially, I'm expecting that the president should be able to come out strongly in terms of how are we going to resolve these kind of economic challenges. One is the fact that it should be very bold. I am expecting the president to say that this very year we are not going to increase, government workers' salary. I want the president to articulate his very strong so that every Ghanaian will back the point that we are not going to increase government workers, for this year, because if government dares to go ahead to increase workers' salary again, the economy will be in shambles. And we want the president to be very categorical so that everybody knows that this is the challenges facing the economy, and there is no way that government workers, should expect, an increase in salary.
David, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it here. But we'll talk more on this on Thursday as we cover live the State of the Nation's address from Parliament. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you so much.
David Acquah is Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Unfortunately, I had to go already, but I'll see you again on News Today at midday. Enjoy the rest of our broadcast. I'm totally grateful for all the comments you sent through. My name is Kamini Nyamani Amana. Goodbye for now.